The Viking Age, roughly 793 to 1066 AD, was a period in medieval history defined by the Scandinavian seafaring Norse peoples, often referred to as Vikings, who explored, traded, raided, and settled across large parts of Europe, Asia, and the North Atlantic. This period had a profound impact on the cultures, politics, and landscapes of the regions involved. Key phases and events of the Viking Age. The beginning of the Viking Age, 793 AD. The Viking Age is often considered to have begun with the raid on Lindisfarne in 793, when Norse warriors attacked the monastery on the island of Lindisfarne, off the northeast coast of England. This raid shocked Europe and marked the start of numerous Viking raids. The Vikings' raids were facilitated by their superior seafaring abilities and longships, which could travel great distances, navigate shallow waters, and strike quickly. Viking expansion. The Vikings were not just raiders, but also explorers, traders, and settlers. They ventured across the North Atlantic, reaching Iceland, Greenland, and even North America, in areas they called Vinland, now part of modern-day Newfoundland. In the east, Vikings known as the Varangians traveled to the Byzantine Empire and even formed the Varangian Guard, an elite unit in the Byzantine Emperor's army. The Vikings also made their mark in the Slavic lands, founding key cities like Kiev, the capital of Kievan Rus, which became a powerful state in Eastern Europe. Over the 9th and 10th centuries, Viking raids were a constant threat to Christian Europe, with attacks on England, France, Ireland, Scotland, Spain, and Italy. The Vikings established several significant kingdoms, including the Danelaw in England, the Kingdom of Dublin in Ireland, and the Kingdom of Normandy in France. Notably, the Normans, descendants of Norse settlers in France, became one of the most powerful forces in medieval Europe, with William the Conqueror famously invading and conquering England in 1066. The Viking Age is generally considered to have ended with the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where the Anglo-Saxon king Harold Godwinson defeated the Norwegian king Harald Hardrada. Harold's death marked the end of Viking attempts to conquer England. The same year, William the Conqueror's victory at the Battle of Hastings in England signaled the beginning of Norman rule in England and the wider end of the Viking influence. Key features of Viking society. The Vikings are famous for their longships, sleek, fast, and highly maneuverable vessels that allowed them to travel across the seas and rivers. These ships were crucial for their raids, trade, and exploration. Viking raids were highly effective due to the element of surprise and the mobility of their ships. They could strike coastal towns, quickly loot, and retreat before local forces could respond. Vikings practiced Norse paganism, worshipping gods like Odin, Thor, and Freyja. Their belief in the afterlife, Valhalla, and the warrior ethos influenced their social structures and culture. By the 10th century, many Vikings had converted to Christianity, often as part of the integration into European political structures. Culture and art in the Viking Age were, well, quite intricate and often centered around Norse mythology and symbols. They created beautiful jewelry, weapons, and carvings. And let's not forget the Viking sagas, epic tales passed down orally and later written down. These are important sources of history and literature. While the Vikings are often remembered for their raids, they were also skilled traders and settlers. They established trading routes across Europe, connecting the Mediterranean to the east and beyond. Settlements in places like Iceland, Greenland, and parts of Russia flourished. Viking society had a strong sense of law and order, with a system of thing assemblies where local leaders and free men would meet to discuss and settle disputes. Althing, the Icelandic assembly, is one of the oldest parliamentary institutions in the world. Ragnar Lothbrok. A legendary Viking king and warrior, Ragnar's exploits are recounted in sagas, though his historical existence is debated. Leif Erikson, the Norse explorer who is often credited with being the first European to set foot in North America, nearly 500 years before Christopher Columbus. Harald Hardrada, the last great Viking king, known for his ambitious campaigns in England, his death at the Battle of Stamford Bridge marked the end of the Viking Age. Ivar the Boneless, a legendary Viking leader, noted for his ruthlessness and strategic prowess, particularly during the invasion of England. The Viking Age left a lasting impact on Europe and beyond. The Vikings helped shape modern political boundaries, as their settlements and conquests influenced the development of countries like England, France, Russia, and even parts of Italy and Spain. Their exploration opened new routes for trade and cultural exchange, and their art and mythology continue to fascinate people today. Although the Viking period itself ended by the mid-11th century, the cultural and political influence of the Norse peoples endured, especially through the Normans in England and France, and through the trading and cultural exchanges that continued across the North Atlantic.